Hi everyone, and thank you so very much for taking the time to find out about all the clever ways you can use your Tarry Twist pattern packs, stencil sets, and template sets. So if you already have any of the Tarry Twist products, this will teach you many of the ways that you can use them and become inspired. Or if you're just going to see what products may suit your need and be a good fit for you, this presentation is a great place to start. You will hear references about other resources that you can use with Tarry Twist products and where you can go to find them. I hope this helps, so sit back, grab some coffee and chocolate, maybe a sketch pad, and become inspired. If you have any questions or want to share some of your projects using the Tarry Twist, please go to www.sallyterry.com or email me at sally@sallyterry.com. We all love continuous line designs, but the traditional continuous curve arc is nearly impossible to do perfectly, and it is not very forgiving of piecing imperfections and my machine quilting shortcomings. And the more we played with the Tarry Twist placements and design possibilities, we found that it looks different when you add it to blocks than it looks in borders or in sashings or even as a panto, even though we are stitching the same S-curve. If you are new to quilting, you may find that the information found in the book Pathways to Better Quilting will make your machine quilting learning curve much shorter and so much more fun. There are 3 different configurations: a single Tarry Twist block on the upper left, multiple Tarry Twists that you can use in 9 patches or 16 patches, or 2x24 sashings or 2x5 patches. You get the picture. You can also join them into beautiful twisted style borders shown at the bottom, which is so popular today. And imagine how exciting that would be if it were trapuntoed. Anytime you're going to turn a corner, one shape automatically nests into the other, making it easy to lay out your corner turns. Plus, the multiple stencil configuration has all the corner turns and the center with the pattern radiating out in all 4 directions. Perfect for your sashings. The Tarry Twist was simple and quick to do on this charming vintage quilt from the plains of Kansas, and I'll show you how. If you don't want to do a lot of quilting and don't want to stitch in the ditch, the Tarry Twist is the perfect solution. Not only does it work in squares and rectangles, but in other shapes as well, such as stitched here in this dynamic red and white Bethlehem star. What would normally take days took hours to complete because of the continuous line stitching sequence. Look at the elegant spinning star that was created in the center just by stitching the 4 sides of the diamond. Nothing special was done here to get this radiating star. This is how it looks on the back. You can see how all the little bobbles and wobbles disappear. No reducing or enlarging patterns. It simply fits. The Tarry Twist is compatible with feathers, beautiful with graceful repeated S-curves of the ribbon fill, and is at home on casual to elegant quilt tops. Notice how the outer corner of the 9-patch configuration outlines the larger center square, and the single Tarry Twists are used in the smaller individual blocks. And all of those asymmetrical random placement blocks like turning 20 and turning 20 again, because the stencil sets have 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, and 12, and the template sets have 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I've even easily stitched a 10-inch area. The Tarry Twist has you covered so that you can conveniently add all the patterns and designs to all of the shapes so that it looks consistent and regular. Because the applique medallion on this charming little quilt is asymmetrical and not truly centered, the Tarry Twist works perfectly here. We even included a little asymmetrical panto around the center applique and then stitched the Tarry Twist pattern from the pattern pack titled Twist. We started the placement from the outer perimeter where the prairie points are and worked toward the center. Just a note, the Tarry Twist pattern pack is now digitized and will be offered on the website at sallyterry.com. Even though the pattern is repeated as a block pattern, it looks different in the small sashing areas. Notice how she used the smaller 4 to 5 inch template to form a spine for her beautiful feather work inside the 8 and 9 template. Very creative use here, working with larger blocks. So clever and well done. If you find yourself working in very small areas, use the Tarry twist as a 1/2 inch background fill. Here's how you can quickly free motion the space. Mark your grid first. And if you have practiced using the small 6 inch multiple 9 patch stencil, it will easily convert your brain and your hand-eye coordination and muscle memory to free motion. Just be sure to use the sequence so you are always making the shape the same way every time. Big, small, big, small, big, small. Or if you feel more comfortable going small to big, just flip the stencil or template over. It's that simple. And if you are left-handed, this pattern reverses without a hitch. Do what's comfortable for you. Here is the sequence. Follow the numbers. You may have already noticed that we're going to complete the verticals first, then stitch the horizontals. That prevents the drag of the hopping foot from shifting the fabric to the right when you're quilting from left to right, before the vertical lines are completed. Simply add and subtract rows and columns to fit your area. The sequence is the same. Now how easy is that? You can even use this to continuously quilt the blocks set side by side in the body of a quilt top already loaded on your machine. You may remember that the Bethlehem star is the same multiple configuration, just tilted about 60 degrees on its side. Remember, when you get to the seam, just slide along in the ditch. And that may vary with each side, but it doesn't matter. They will look consistent even if they're not. That's what I call built-in wiggle room. Use the same technique for the templates as well. Just wiggle them until the hopping foot reaches the ditch, then slide into the ditch and travel until you reach the corner. Here you see a 9 patch started in the upper left-hand corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was the first vertical. Across 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is the second vertical. Sliding into the corner, making it big, small, big, small. This is the first horizontal we run into. Down the outer perimeter. This is the second set of horizontal seams. We're on the underside here. Bottom right-hand corner of the block. In the bottom left-hand corner at big, small, right back to where we began. I'm traveling over in the seam between the multiple border and the body of the quilt, and I started in the upper left-hand corner, went over 1. Now I'm catching the first set of verticals over. Here's the second set of verticals you'll be stitching back to the top right-hand corner. Now you're going to come down that outer perimeter and catch the first set of horizontals. Big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, and big, small down. You see, you're always going big to small. Slide into the ditch. Once you hit the seam, just slide over. Now this is the second set of horizontals. Now you're down in the bottom right-hand corner, the last horizontal perimeter, and now the last vertical perimeter, and you're right back to where you started. Now you could go up that gold point and back down over across and actually ditch your way across through the sashing to the next block. And here I'm just reaching the top left corner of the last 9 patch. Over 1. Here's the first verticals. Big, small, big, small. Over the top 1. Catch the second set of verticals. Top right-hand corner. The last vertical perimeter. Now I'm catching the horizontals. Big, small, big, small. Now you're going to slide into the ditch, slide into the ditch, just slide in. The centers of these little pieces of patchwork are all going to be different, but the eye won't catch the inconsistencies. Now you're in the bottom right hand corner. This is the last horizontal, and now we're on the perimeter, bottom left side of the block, and you're back up to the top exactly where you started. That's all there is to it. You can do this. Very simple. And here's the finished product. For narrow sashings or multiple borders, start on the first vertical and follow the sequence. Adapt it to your particular situation. Try it in Houndstooth and Sawtooth blocks as well. It is so adaptable. And here you would start where the blue dot is. Do the first set of verticals over the top, second set of verticals over the top, third set, fourth set, until you come to the corner. Then down, back around the bottom, and up to the blue dot again. Now for the fun part. Stitch the basic TT block shape, filling it in as you go. You can add a design from the pattern pack or simply make up your own. You can also stitch them separately. If you add your own free motion design, use an arc, S-curve, or straight line to give you some guidelines for greater control within the Tarry twist shape. And you'll notice that there is a red arc in the illustration on the left, and then a white arc that defines the outer edges of the loop on the picture on the right. Keep in mind you can use the stencil as well as the templates to mark the Tarry twist. Then simply fill it in. The negative designs created in the center can be quite beautiful, and on the upper left you'll see where I've actually made the arc go out and then come back in. So everything but the top right arc out to the corner is double, because the top right one goes and travels to the next block. So have fun doing this. Even if they're all different, they will look consistent because they are consistently inconsistent. Traveling from block to block across the loaded quilt top is so simple and easy. Stitch fill designs in the same 9-patch sequence for the continuous line quilting on the entire exposed area of the quilt top. If you have a short arm or mid arm, this technique works well because you are quilting smaller horizontal areas. Don't forget to stitch the outside of the blocks if they touch a border or a sashing seam. Remember, you have many sizes, so you can stitch larger border areas with a 6-inch TT, or use 2 3-inch TTs on the other side. The combinations and configurations are endless. The Tarry Twist Pattern Pack, besides including 15 simple to elegant designs for blocks, also includes accompanying sashing and border patterns. These sashings and border patterns can be set up on either a centered mark or on a seam. The pattern pack also arrives with a bonus 6-inch Tarry Twist single stencil for you to try to use with the 6-inch printed block patterns inside the pattern pack. This pattern from the Tarry Twist pattern pack forms an interesting spinning star. Notice the block corners create a secondary pattern, all asymmetrical and so forgiving. Try using the new shadow rhythms technique. There are 4 different designs in this one Tarry Twist block. Try stitching different designs from the Tarry Twist pattern pack on different seams. Use one design for all your horizontals and one for your verticals. This brand new way of mixing and matching pattern placement is part of the new book in the Pathways series published by American Quilter Society, entitled Pathways from Quilt Top to Quilted. There are many more new designs in the shadow rhythm sections for you to use with the Tarry Twist. One of the first quilt tops most new piecers make typically is a log cabin quilt block. And because many are set up on the diagonal, the Tarry Twist diagonal asymmetrical design layout is a natural for this type of piecing design. Even if you use it on 2 sides, like the top and the bottom, it will still work well and fill in. The stencil set consists of 6 stencils. It includes printed instructions, CD, 6-inch single, 6-inch multiple 9-patch, and that would have a 2-inch single. Then there's the 9-inch single and a 9-inch multiple 9-patch with a 3-inch single, a 12-inch single and a 12-inch multiple 9-patch with a 4-inch single. There's also 4-inch 4 patches, 6-inch 4 patches, and 9-inch 4 patches. So mix and match the different sizes. Besides using in blocks, there are corner turns and border layouts, as you can see. This will be a 2-line design, the panto pattern on the top, and you can go back and forth within the area and fill without ever breaking your thread. Here are a few examples of the fill patterns, including a hooked on feathers design, shown in the book Hooked on Feathers, which is available at sallyterry.com. You could use the TT in the 4 6-inch blocks separated by the sashing, or you can use the single 12-inch TT and fill the entire area as we did here. It is really easy to set up because the outer dimensions of the block outline is cut into your stencil for easy and quick positioning. This makes for much quicker quilting, that's for sure. You can see the stitching through the stencil. I stitched the TT, then used it for a spine, and free motioned on each side of the spine using the walking border technique as a quick fill. There is an entire section of patterns and how-to instructions for walking borders in Pathways from Quilt Top to Quilted. To set up the Tarry twist as a border print, find the center line and mark. If you desire to use a seam, you will still use this same simple method. Mark your center line, then use the right side of the Tarry twist stencil to mark the left side of the center line. Then simply slide it over and mark the left side of your stencil on the right side of your center mark. Use the same steps for marking the horizontal lines by using the bottom side of the stencil to mark the top, and use the top of the stencil to mark the lower side of the design. Once you do this, it will become second nature. Here are some more suggestions for pantos, borders, and sashings. Here is the complete set of templates, including a 2 and 3 inch ruler, 4 to 5 inch, 6 to 7, 8 to 9 question mark shapes in the template set that you will receive. All are a 1/4 inch thick and include an instructional pamphlet and a CD. The sharp corners are rounded, so in case they hit the floor accidentally, they're stronger and should stay in one piece. Unfortunately, I cannot guarantee they won't break, but I've done everything design-wise to help you keep them in one piece. They all have a convenient hole for hanging. The long ruler templates have a flat side for ditch work. They're etched with seam lineup guides so you know where to place them. And there is a hopping foot positioning notch to keep everything where you want it as you begin stitching. To use the 3 larger question mark shaped Tarry twist templates, start on the top left corner of the block. Use the etch seam positioning marks to line it up. Place the hopping foot in the notch and draw it along the outside of the template until you reach the seam. Once in the seam, travel into the corner. For the bottom of the block, turn the template counterclockwise and repeat. For the left side of the block, turn the template counterclockwise again and line up the etch seam positioning marks. Place the hopping foot this time in the notch on the inside of the template and stitch to the corner. Turn it one more time when you reach the top of the block and stitch on the inside of the template. They look different because we had to take into consideration the 1/4 inch hopping foot, but they will stitch the same. Also, there is additional space for you to wiggle back and forth as you guide the template and your hopping foot into the seam. Adding just that little added length for those not so square pieced blocks really will help you. I have even used the 8 to 9 inch template to do 10-inch blocks without a problem. Here's how it will look lined up on the left side of the block on the etched seam guides. The ruler style templates, besides filling long sashing seams inside block parameters and even as outside fluting designs, form a ribbon when stitched parallel to one another. Set this up down the center of a patriotic quilt top border or in a wide sashing on a ribbon and bows floral quilt. Add extra shapes from the language of quilting, from the Pathways to Better Quilting book like loops, hooks, and S-curves, or design your own. You can even connect the two rows to give added depth and dimension to the ribbon, or free motion over the top of a single row to form a ribbon. Remember, when you use the template, then add free motion designs, as I did on the bottom example, you can keep your designs more controlled and consistent because the template makes it look uniform, yet the free motion lets you fill an area quicker and making it a whole lot more fun. Of course, the ribbon fill is a great alternative to the meander. It gives interest and is not boring to do because when you can double back, it gives you the density of a small stipple with half the work, which makes that a lot more fun. It all works small, medium, and large. And the 3D effect goes a long way to give added depth to the quilt top. First, create a meander leaving room for the return thread path using an arc to finish. Leave enough room between the thread paths to double back, crossing over the first completed thread path, each time going beyond the shape as you exaggerate the curve, crossing back and forth. Finish with an arc to complete the 3D look. You can use this very small fill pattern or as a large overall design in the body of a quilt. As a huge meander, you can use it edge to edge or use it as one continuous ribbon. You can also use it as a spine. Just make sure you leave enough room between the thread paths to add feathers, the hooked on feathers, or more. If you're going to advance your quilt, stop where the thread paths cross one another at the point, advance your quilt, and start again. Here is a Tarry Twist hands-on class example. The left side was completely marked using a 6-inch Tarry Twist multiple stencil. On the right side, only the square grid lines were marked, and the Tarry Twist was free motioned. I think you will see there is very little difference between them. The shapes look consistent even though they're not. So take heart, my quilting friend. You can do this. It is so forgiving that your eye and your customer's eye will not see all the little bobbles and wobbles. You can see how the little ribbon meander works beautifully with the TT, and of course it will tuck and nest into so many little awkward shapes. Also, many of you ask, should I get the stencils or should I get the templates? This may help you decide which one is a good fit for you. If you want to do a lot of free motion, then start with the stencils. Mark the smaller 6-inch multiple and practice doing that one. You will develop the muscle memory to do the TT in smaller areas. If you want some control for larger areas and then add your own free motion designs or a marked pattern, then go with the templates. Myself, I thought I would use the stencils more, but it turns out I use the templates almost 60% of the time. I wanted a consistent look throughout the quilt top, and then I will go back and add the walking border free motion technique to many of the patterns. I hope you enjoyed this CD and got lots of great ideas that you can use right away. The TT is forgiving. It hides a lot of bobbles and wobbles and keeps you out of trouble with its asymmetrical design. Thank you so very, very much for learning about the many ways you can use this versatile little pattern with your templates, stencils, and pattern packs. Thanks again for choosing one of the many Tarry Twist products, and may you forever enjoy doing the Tarry Twist and dancing with your machine.